I'm coming from the country of Arabian Nights, but I don't have such nice story as my three people speaking before me to tell you. But first, just in 2 slides or 3 slides, this is the National Library, with a new library built just 4 years ago. And this is inside, and you can see, actually, it's quite a unique building, and it's huge. And from wherever you are in the library, you can see a part like this one. It looks like a little bit like a archaeological site, and there is a heritage library. I mean, the collection of manuscripts, books, maps, archives, all this old material, which is on display, and also on the shelves, behind glass, and in the storage. So I pass just to show you a little bit what we have. And we have such kind of nice manuscripts about Islamic collections. But not only, interestingly, we have a collection which is not only focused on Islam, but more relation between Islam and previous civilizations and Western world, and how the journey of the knowledge has been gone, all these civilizations forth and back. So it's quite interesting collection. It's not focused only on Islamic civilization. So here you can see some nice famous Qurans and maps and so on, or books. And we have also some modern archives and a lot of photography, textile objects. We have also 1,000 archaeological items, which I don't know where they come from, and they are here. So it's also, we have to manage with archaeology. But let's come to the topic. And so this library has a specific role in the region for protection of heritage, Islamic heritage and oriental heritage manuscripts in general. And because we have various reasons. First, we have a wonderful conservation lab and a good team. And as we said before, we are IFLA PAC Center. That means that we are in charge for International Federation of Librarians for this region of the Middle East to protect the heritage, to do capacity building, to support the colleagues. And as Hélène mentioned, we are a member of this committee also, which is between ILAB and IFLA. And it's very interesting to have this kind of cross committees appearing now, like IFLA, ILAB. There is the same kind of committee now between IFLA, ICA also. So we have all these cross collaboration, which are very important. I mentioned the EGAT group. We have a meeting next week in Rome about the International Council of Archives with the same spirit, also to fight against trafficking. And the topic of my presentation today is to present you this program called Himaya, which is aimed to fight against trafficking. So this project started, it's very recent, it started in 2020, actually after long discussions with people from Interpol, from World Customs Organization, from UNIDROIT and others, and IFLA, obviously, and we were shocked by the problem of manuscripts. And also at that time it was a little bit depressing because for 2 reasons. First, manuscripts nobody care usually, or books. I mean, in the field of trafficking, what is prestigious, usually it's archaeology. And so there is not much interest by authorities. So we had the feeling with this international organization that we had to do something to draw the light on the books and manuscripts. And coming from this Arab region and Middle East, it's also depressing because we have almost 5 countries in conflict or wars or instability. And as you know, and we will see that trafficking is linked also with such kind of problem, obviously. So it was our project and the aim, I would say, to start that project. So what we do in that project, advocating, obviously, as I said, to explain and to the professionals and to the colleague what should be done. We work a lot with capacity building. We do like a dozen or maybe more courses every year, and not only we do that in English, in Arabic, in Persian, in Turkish, in Pashtun, in Dari. So we are very trying with, and it was, we started in 2020 and it was just the period of the COVID. So we could not be very proactive on the ground, but thanks to Zoom and all these tools, we have been extremely active. And I was surprising, we organized a course in Persian, and we have something like 250 people registered for 1 week course, imagine. And they were all here from the first day until the last minute and asking thousands of questions. So that shows the strong interest of the professional of the libraries, archives, to have information about that. And we said before, it's not only a question of librarian to solve that. We are not law enforcement agent, we're not the police. It's not only the police alone cannot do that, and as we are all insisting on the fact that we can show this success, like you showed before, because there is a strong collaboration between the police, the custom, but also the justice, and obviously the professionals. And all together we can achieve to do something. And in that region, it's not my region, it's not so easy, I can tell you. And I will give you some examples which are not so easy. A project also is to start with using the new technologies. So we have various projects in the pipeline. We are going to organize a system to organize due diligences for books and manuscripts, and with tools to advise and link to all the laws of the countries of the Middle East, which are changing every 5 months when there is a law, because some countries in conflict, there is not even any more law, so you don't know which law to apply, but trying to help the decision. We have a project with the Qatar Project, which is an NGO in America. They've been the first one to draw the attention to the shift of, I would say, commercial market. A few years ago, it was, I would say, like under the table, but face to face. Everything, 90% of the market shift to social media, and I will give you more example. It's dramatic. So we are working with them to organize with the Service of Research of Technologies of the Qatar Foundation to help them to have an automatic system to monitor 24 hours all the posts and all the social media, and then they get in every morning the list of the most crucial one, which looks like trafficking, and then we can work on that. So we have various tools on the pipeline, and then we have also to work more together. It's not easy because even if it's all Arab countries, usually they don't have good relation, I would say. So it's not not always easy. And but again, pushing for working together and bringing the expertise which is needed. Imagine if you are at 12 o'clock in the airport of Doha and you find something in the luggage. You need a quick answer to know if it's a rare manuscript, if it's a copy, if it's not rare, if it's a fake, like most of the time, by the way. So we organize a system now with experts and the WhatsApp system to be able to answer quite quickly to the custom, to be able to, with a picture, so it's just a kind of, it's not a certification of authenticity, but trying to help as much as we can. We are doing a network of the laboratories. We have also in the library a huge laboratory doing any kind of scientific analysis to help also to check the authenticity and the various aspects like that. Cross-collaboration with other organizations like we do today with thanks to ILAB, but also we have meetings with ICOM, with any kind of organization, and not only, because trafficking of manuscripts, I mean, we are all crying about manuscripts and archaeology, but it's the same kind of problem of the drug or any kind of a crime. And for example, if you know that we have seen recently that, for example, even some species trafficking are linked also with heritage. In Socotra, which is a wonderful island south of Yemen, it has been shown recently that the traffickant of archaeology were also trafficking the unique species which you can find only in Socotra, nowhere else in the world. So you can see all these interactions should be worked on cross-collaboration to exchange information, as you were all saying. And then hopefully professional awareness and communication. So for us, starting in a region which is not clear what's happened, and where we see the market growing, we had, I would say, a kind of a prerequisite was to understand the method and the channels of circulation, and I will show you a little bit what we, and nothing new for new, it's just trying to see what are the various channels and fight we have to deal with, and with various schematic examples. So I will take two examples. On purpose, I take one manuscript and one archaeology object, because it's linked, and I will like also to show you why it's different and why we have been obliged to establish that project in Himaya, because it's not always the same thing. There is some specificities in the circulation, in the channel, in the end buyer, I would say, so which makes the specificity of that project. So if I take a manuscript like a manuscript in Timimoun, south of Algeria, wonderful place, and I take an archaeological item from Iraq, Babylon, okay. So what's happened? First, the manuscripts are in the big difference that usually the manuscript in Arab world, I would say 90% of them are in private families. So that changed completely their status, the problem, the legal problem, because they are all in private hand, but they are existing. I insist on that because you will see that's not always the case. So they could have been, barely they are, catalogued and described. But Algerian law is not clear for private manuscripts in private families because they speak always of antiquity and archaeology. So by extension, you can consider it's including the manuscript, but not always, and not clear deadline for what is the period, the values, what we have seen with our French colleague. And anyway, the lower are not very well informed. And unfortunately, these people you see on the screens are very nice. It means that you go there, you sit with them. After 10 minutes, they open their house and they give you the manuscript. And they even let you go home with the manuscript and say, when you come back, you bring it. They are such nice people. It's unbelievable. So you can see it's difficult to protect this collection. But if I take my other example of Iraqi archaeological object, so it could come from a museum, because we say there is war, there is conflict, so it's easy to steal there. And so here, I remind you, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, Libya, and so on. So it's not easy region, and Afghanistan, because we extend to neighboring country. I will speak about Afghanistan later on. But most probably, actually, for archaeology, that's where already we start to have a difference with manuscripts, that there are illegal digging archaeological sites. That means they were not existing. I mean, they were not officially existing. They were in the earth, underground, digging them. Someone dig to find them, but they were not registered somewhere. They were not known. So that makes a big difference, because in one case you dig and you find something, looting, and it's become a new object, even if it's existing since thousands of years, whereas your manuscripts, it could have been it could have been recorded in some inventories. I mean, so the status is completely different also. And imagine my object, which is in the ground in Babylon. Not only there is people digging to find it, but the big change also that now you can loot online and on request, on demand. That means that they showed you the site on the YouTube. You have that. You can 2 minutes. You do YouTube. I want an archaeological object in Babylon, and you have a guy. He show himself in front of the site, and you choose which one you want and the object, and it is looting on demand. So, situation is not easy. And again, the situation, I mean, I was speaking about an archaeological object. It could be a manuscript also in Baghdad, but the situation also legally is different because some countries, like, if I'm not wrong, I think it's Yemen, Syria, and Iraq only, has been protected for the first time by the Security Council of United Nations in 2017, when there was all these wars in that region. And so it's a very specific and protection which forbids the circulation and the sale of these items. So my poor manuscript from Timimoun in south of Algeria, unfortunately, is not getting the protection of the United Nations. So again, it's not everyone has the same chance in this kind of fight. And now I would like to show you quickly the different channels you will see. So my manuscript, stolen. And as I told you, it's easy to take it, and people are poor. So again, war or poor people. And when you are starving, and you cannot blame the people if they sell their manuscript. It's not always a theft. It could be even the people themselves, from the owner of the manuscript. Poor people, and I have seen that in so many countries in the Middle East. By chance, they are in charge of a library of 5,000 manuscripts, even more than I have in my library in Qatar, with quite generous budget. So you can imagine that these people selling one more, one less. So we cannot blame them completely. And my archaeological item, or encyclicals, so it's looting, illegal digging, and theft. And again, people are poor, and there is a war, more or less, so it doesn't help. What's happened with my manuscripts? Usually they will go to Mali. It's easy because there is thousands of kilometers of borders and another country with conflict. So not much risk to have someone at the border to block you. Or it will go to the capital. And my object may also to Kuwait, easy, or to Middle East. But what I want to insist that, and for my object from Iraq also, remember that he will probably travel also with refugees. So there is a network and the channels of refugees, which is another layer of problem, which we cannot ignore. Anyway, in both cases, you can imagine these custom people, the police, are very nice people, but they are not paid in 6 months in the best case in Iraq, and they get $10 per year. So what can you expect? So that's the situation. And quickly, so we can have an optimistic scenario, which does not happen very often, but the police size it. And then the big problem is, where are we going to give it back? Because my manuscript was not registered in the family, there's no inventory, it was not catalogued, it was nothing in the library of Timimoun. So even if the best case, which I showed you now, is it is sized, we cannot restitute it to this family because there are absolutely no proof of ownership. some of the time they didn't even know it was stolen. So it's pending. And the same for my archaeological object. We may also difficultly return to the place where it was stolen. In the best case, it will return to the National Museum, and still it's not so easy because for many objects coming from the zone, a region of Babylonian region, I would say, all this kind of Sumerian period, it's not so clear in which country it should be, and borders today are not the same as 5,000 years ago. So it's still also a big problem for the restitution, but it's not the topic today. But if it's exported, so the problem of my manuscripts, you can put your manuscript in your pocket. It's not very big. You arrive to the custom. You pass the gate, you know. Usually it doesn't ring. And moreover, you can say to if the custom block you and say, what is that? You just have to say, well, it's a Quran of my grandfather. And imagine everybody is so impressed of your face that they even stamp and say, yes, you can go with that, and it's done. And the problem again, custom officer at the border, he doesn't know the difference between a Kufic Quran from the 7th century and a Quran print 10 years ago, which looks more or less the same, by the way. No, but I mean, it's a book with page, with a binding, and it's a book for him. Huh? So if he says it's from my grandfather, but that's also a difference, because so it's easy to go to the border and to pass with your manuscript one by one. If you have 20, it looks a little bit more strange, but you can use the argumentation of the faith. Whereas if you are blocked at the border in Egypt or in Iraq with a pyramid, I mean, not a pyramid, or a small Egyptian statue, it's difficult to say I'm praying with that. So it's starting to be more strange. So hopefully, my archaeological object, I have much more chance to be blocked than my manuscript, which has the benediction, I would say, of the custom to go. So it goes where it goes to Europe usually. I didn't put a clear country, I put okay, to be fair. But usually it's between Paris, London, and Brussels, and Amsterdam recently, and then it can go quickly in the private hand. My object from Iraq will have more or less the same circuit. It will pass from Paris more probably because there is some place more specialized for some topics, like Paris for pre-Columbian archaeology and Sumerian archaeology, London for other topics, and Islamic art, unfortunately. But the other option that they may go, yes, in this famous free port. You may have heard about that place. They're wonderful. It's bigger than the Metropolitan, the Louvre, and the British Museum together. And it's full of pieces of objects, from the basement to the roof. And it's half of them are not very clearly provenance. Most of the time a little bit dirty, I mean, in terms of provenance. And so it's very easy. They can go to this port. We have one wonderful port in the Middle East, in one of these Gulf countries, and another one which is famous in Geneva. So it's quite good. We can circulate easily, and they will most probably arrive in a private collection, because the case we can see, and now more and more every day you see on the television that Metropolitan is returning. It's things which have happened. It's cases which have been happening decades ago. There are some cases of that, but barely we can see the Metropolitan Museum of the Bibliothèque de France buying an Islamic manuscript for $10 million last year. They don't have the money, and they are much more careful. So they will probably finish in a private collection, and the seller will try to sell it in a private collection more than in a public collection, because, as you have seen, the provenance is easy to track in a way. So they will finish in a private collection for years, but there is also a big difference. They will not be in the same place. My archaeological object will probably finish in Europe, because it's very chic if you have a nice modern house to have few antique ceramics or objects. Whereas we have to be, and so they go like that. Whereas my Islamic manuscript most probably will finish in one of this rich family of the Gulf region, where there is the money, the face, and the attraction for such kind of manuscripts. You barely see people in Europe buying an Islamic manuscript for $10 million, whereas it's much more common in that region. So you see also, again, that the difference between archaeological items and manuscripts, they could be the same fight, I would say, but we have to check the channels, which are not so much similar, actually. The end buyer, good face or not good face, that's not the problem today, will be most probably in different place. Another example, it's interesting with auctions. So I give you an example here, which happened last year, just 8 months ago. So this happens in a catalog in London, almost $1 million on the catalog, a nice manuscript, but this manuscript has been stolen 3 years ago in Kabul National Archives. Another problem, Kabul is not... So it has been stolen not during the recent period of the Taliban, but still it's not easy, you will see. And so it's, by chance, we have a good network with Himaya, and dozens of experts are spending nights to check the catalogs, and they alert me, and immediately I alerted the Interpol. And, but thanks to that, where the professionals are watching, and the police also, as I said, we have a team to watch catalogs online and social media all the day. And we report to Interpol. Problem, they said you have to go to Interpol Kabul, and the office of Kabul is closed since 20 years, so we cannot do anything for you. And moreover, the theft has never been declared in not even in the police of Kabul. And by chance, the Ministry of Culture, from the new government in Kabul was in Qatar that week, so I spoke with him, and he said, yes, but we cannot do much. So in a way, it's complicated, because you don't know if you do a good action, because actually, if I would have let the sale happening, it has been recorded, and maybe 2 weeks later, 1 month later, we could have the possibility to act with Scotland Yard and Interpol, and with the support of the Ministry of Culture from Kabul, the new one. But so we naively, I would say maybe, or I don't know, we insist to Interpol. Interpol call, not officially, Scotland Yard, and so they explained that to Sotheby. I did the same. I called with them, and they removed the item from the sale. So we can. It's my only good news from today in comparison with your news. But actually, it's not a good news at all, because now we don't know where it is. They give it back to the crime gang organizing that things. Probably they will sell it under the table. So being nice and good faith sometimes is not so good, and you hesitate to know what you have to do. Actually, there was another case similar from the same library, which is, I would say, bleeding of manuscripts. And there was another one manuscript from the same library on sale last May, so not far ago, in Amsterdam. And same story. But we catch him after the sale, and maybe it will be another case story, because maybe it will be easier, because now they are starting the investigation. It's time? Maybe it's time? 5 minutes? Okay. So they're starting a new investigation, and maybe we will see at the end who is going to, because in both cases it's Kabul archives, no Interpol, no police, a little bit difficult country. And then we will see which one of the two cases have more chance to arrive to a solution, which would be the restitution. When I discussed with the auction house in London, they say, okay, it's a mistake, sorry. And they say, well, if you want, I can give you the phone number of the Ministry of Culture in Kabul. He will be happy to receive as a gift the restitution. And well, they, no, we don't recognize Talibans. We don't want to speak with them. It's true. So forget it again. So it's not... Nice story, like your story, sorry. And then it goes to the police, and again, the big problem that of the restitution. Where are we going to get it back if by chance it's seized somewhere and returning? Because in that case of that manuscript, by chance, a French expert, one of the best ones for Persian manuscript, was there 4 years ago, and he took pictures and he described the manuscript in detail. So he sent me the pictures, the description, so we have the evidences. And even with the evidences, we couldn't reach the restitution. So imagine with the thousands of more manuscripts ready to leave the country. So otherwise it will be sold and lost forever, or for many years. I go quickly. Then now the new market is cybercrime. So this was still a little bit physical, but I want to insist, because now, as I told you, there is a big shift to cybercrime. So it goes there, I go quickly. So they contact you. I receive WhatsApp like that every week from Yemen, or a guy who doesn't say their name. I have a manuscript, here's a picture, I have something to sell you. Do you want? If I don't want, they will put it on Facebook. Then they will try to sell it, then they will receive the money, then they send the manuscript most probably again in Europe by Federal Express, which is very efficient to pass through the border. And then it arrives again in Paris in this nice modern and chic house, and it's lost. And very few chance to have restitution. But don't forget that behind that guy, there is probably also a financial gang, and certainly a process of money laundering. So you can see all these chains of catastrophes which are happening. I don't have time to go in detail to explain you things. And then it could be seized sometime in Europe. And then it could be also, the problem also will be the investigation and to whom they will be restituted. Just to finish, so you can see that many scenarios are happening and it's difficult to track them. So we are just, as you said, as I said, 2 years for that program to investigate all these cases, knowing that we are not the police, working with the local police. It's difficult, but we do, and we try to identify all these new channels. But as I said, the good news, if there is one, at least that there is now a very good collaboration between all the stakeholders, from the police, the justice, the customs, as I said you, and there is new tools. And librarians and antiquarians, booksellers, as we see today, are working much more better together. So it's also a big help, I can tell you. Some countries more in Europe are ratifying UNIDROIT convention, very few, which is part of the restitution process, because this convention, in a way better than the UNESCO one, much more before, is clarifying the question of the good faith, the restitution and everything. So it's important, but only 2 or 3 countries in Arab region ratify it, so we cannot even use it. And still there is a big need of global awareness, which is very strong, but we try to do, but it's immense work. Thank you.